Back in the day, to go back to my EMS background, when the idea of a trauma center first came out, we were all used to you pick up the patient, go to the local hospital. And this idea was, don't go to the local hospital, go to the nearest trauma center for certain types of things. And the question they asked, if you have a serious heart problem, would you like your regular GP to do the surgery? Or would you like somebody who only does cardiac surgery to do the surgery? So the same thing with your books. Are you going to do it yourself because you have an idea of how to use QuickBooks, and QuickBooks is made to be easy? Or do you want somebody who knows how things should be coded, who knows that sales tax is not an expense, who knows that certain, gift cards are not income?
Welcome to the Richer Retailer Podcast. I am so thrilled for you to be here today because we are discussing a topic that is as dry as dust, according to my esteemed colleague and team member and host here today, Kirk Johnson. How are you, Kirk?
I'm doing well, Cathy. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So please tell us what it is you do now and what is it you've done in the past that's consistent with your values. Don't share the things that aren't consistent with your values.
There are too many of those.
Okay, great.
No, I've been doing a lot of different things. One thing that's been a thread through my life is I've been a volunteer in EMS for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
Starting as an EMT and going on to be a paramedic. I enjoyed working with people. I left as of COVID. Actually, I left just before COVID because I started a family, and they tried to get me to come back for COVID, and I just couldn't. I didn't want to bring that into the house with a little baby and everything. So, but I still do volunteer emergency work, just not in EMS.
And so that comes during regular 9 to 5 hours, right? There's never emergencies at odd times or in the middle of the night, right?
Oh yeah, no, we're on 24/7. So I have left in the middle of a QuickBooks cleanup. I've also gotten up in the middle of the night. So, and then back when I was on the ambulance, I would have a regular weeknight shift. So anywhere between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., I'd be up and out. And there were nights where it'd be 4 or 5 calls in a row. So I'd get no sleep.
Oh, geez. I can see how we were talking here. I've known you for a bit of time now. And truly, it is clear to me how God has put all this together. So when you come upon someone who's in this emergency health situation and you have to diagnose and look for all these details that sometimes can lead to conflicting diagnoses and decide which one is, and you have to establish a priority of how you're going to handle the person, how you're going to deal with the person. And the fact is that as impactful as that is to that person's physical health, what you do now for people's financial health is really so much of the same thing, Kirk. I never saw it so clearly until right now.
It all comes about from wanting to create organization out of chaos. Mm-hmm. Whether it's healthcare emergency or a business emergency, it's taking, like you say, all the different information, putting together and deciding a clear path on how we can move forward and help the person we're dealing with, whether it's their books or their liver.
Yeah, right. But seriously, listen, y'all, this is true. And the fact is that your numbers, your financials, your bookkeeping is critical to your health. It is. Because how often, Kirk, do we see people, oh my goodness. So Kirk is our Profit First Maven inside RETAILMavens, and he handles our bookkeeping and does QuickBooks cleanup, and he has a team that he leads doing that. And Kirk, how have you seen the fact that somebody's books are a mess? How have you seen that impact them personally?
Well, I have 2 examples. One that's just straight bookkeeping, and I keep getting emails back from her saying, I am so excited. This is the first time in years that I have any idea what my books are saying. This cleanup has been so helpful. I mean, you can hear the joy, if you want to say, in her emails about how having books that make sense to her are very important. The other is one of my Profit First meetings just this past week. The difference between the husband and wife that are running the business in this past meeting and 6 months ago when we first started is like night and day. They were relaxed. Their cash flow is better, but not where they want it. But they weren't in a panic. They saw their numbers. Everything was organized. They have a brand new bookkeeper that they're working with, and she's right on top of it. And they said, this is the first time we felt like we're in control. And like I say, it's not like suddenly they have tons of money and they're, ready to go for a vacation on the Riviera. But they now understand because their books are clean. They're looking at their numbers. They understand what the numbers mean. They now can make decisions on how they're a little short in this account, but we can look at these numbers going forward. We can pull here and move there and know that we need to put back. But if you didn't have clean books and stuff like that, there was no way. Yeah, everything was reaction. Let's get another loan from Shopify. Let's do this. Let's do that. We have no plan. We've got to get money today because they had no idea where it is, where it's going, or where it's been.
Yeah, I was actually on that first call with you, and they, it was palpable, the tension in the room and the tension between them. They obviously loved each other, but they were at odds. They didn't know what to do. It was literally impacting so much of their life. And then their family worked for them too. And so it was making those relationships different. And I know that situation, it's not as if they woke up one morning and all this chaos was there. It had gradually been accruing, and they said that they had been ignoring it because they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to handle it. And so it was easier to do all the things in the store that they knew how to do. It was easier to focus on that than to look at their numbers. And that's the part that is so sad, because I know that I made that mistake too. I know that I did that too in my business. There was a time when I totally had my head in the sand and we were almost bankrupt. And I remember going out to dinner with my godfather, and sure, he was going to give the money. He loved me. He's my godfather. I know I'm Irish and not Italian. So, but and yet he looked at me and said, Cathy, I can tell you're passionate about this and you're smart, but I don't think you know your numbers. And I was like, what? Yes, I do. And he's like, I do not know retail, but he said, money seems to be coming out the front door, but it's all going out the back door of your store and there's nothing left over in your hands. What? I just remember going home and then realizing that he was right. So even a person who loves numbers can screw it all up. That's one of the biggest problems you see too, isn't it? Ignoring your numbers.
Absolutely. What's the thing I always tell you that absolutely sets me crazy? When people tell me, oh, I don't need to look at my profit and loss or my balance sheets. Those are for my accountants. That just, my head blows up every time I hear that. And I hear it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and specifically now, so, the name of the podcast is Richer Retailer because we want you store owner, you retailer, to be as rich as you possibly can be in every sense of the word. And if you're aspiring to become a millie, if you're aspiring to be $1 million store owner, which I know you are, because it increases your impact, the love that you have for what you do, you get to help more people and share it with more people. Why would you ignore? Actually, I'm not even going to ask why you would ignore your numbers, because I know I did too. And that was my aspiration. And I know I did too. But let me say it a different way. Kirk, what does it mean to actually review your financials? Because I can remember someone saying to me, and actually at the time I was doing over $1 million in business, and someone said, okay, well, if you could just send us your financials. I said, sure. I said, and I hung up the phone. I didn't even know what financials, I didn't even know what that meant. And so can you tell people just quickly what financials really are? Because no shame here. The only way we can all become better is by looking at what we don't know and knowing we don't know it, claiming it, and deciding to do better going forward. So what are financials quickly, Kirk? And what does it mean to review them?
There's two things. There's the profit and loss, and that tells you where your money's coming in from and where it's going out to. And then there's the balance sheet, and that's telling you where your assets are, which can be cash, inventory, cars, buildings, whatever, something physical you own, and where your debt is, credit cards, lines of credit, store owners, their own personal HELOCs and things like that. And those are the two things you need to watch all the time. Of course, you want to know where your money's coming from and where it's going to. The really key thing is you want to see what your day-to-day actions are, how they're impacting what you're spending. You know,
Tell me more about that. What does that mean?
you have a sale and you mark everything down and you know that the widget costs you 5 cents and you're selling it for only 7 cents. Well, that's great. You're selling a gazillion of them. And is that enough to cover your rent? Is that enough to cover your payroll? Is that enough to cover your utilities?
So actually, I think we're talking about two things, because what I hear you saying is that, first of all, you need to know that the money you're bringing in that front door, just like my godfather said, this money comes in the front door and then you're sitting with that money and then you have to decide where it all goes. You have to make sure that there's some staying in your hand and that it's not all going out the back door, right? That's the one thing that you're saying, right? I mean, like, that's at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. It actually doesn't even relate to whether or not the thing is on sale or not. You just have to know over the span of a year that that is exactly what's happening.
Well, here's the thing. It's okay to lose money on occasion. So, for example, you're having a clearance sale because you need to get that old inventory out. It's not making you any money, and you just need the cash and more space on your shelf for cool, new, fresh stuff. That's fine.
That's
okay?
Strategic.
Exactly.
Correct.
What you don't want to do is have an accidental clearance sale where you put something on sale just because you want to have a sale to bring some traffic in, but you're selling it at a loss. And you didn't realize that. And the only way you're going to know is by watching your profit and loss. Or you don't intend to have a sale. You just marked your prices so low that you're not covering. You're wondering why, because you know you can pay your vendors, but your payroll account's always short. Or your rent, you struggle at the end of the month, and to show up on your profit and loss that you're paying $150 to Apple every month because you're playing apps on your phone.
It is okay to be strategically lose money for one day, or even honestly 1 month, because you're strategically doing it. It's part of your inventory plan, which, hello, if you don't have a whole inventory plan, newsflash, reach out, click on the link and talk to us about it, because that's what we help people do. We help people bring inventory in profitably, then shove it out profitably, so that at the end of the day, you do show a profit. You do have positive cash flow at the end of the year. That's the whole point of it. That's exactly what Kirk is saying. So, Kirk, what else would you say that a millie-to-be, an aspiring millionaire, should be looking for in their statements?
You want to look at surprise expenses. You're on your phone, you play a game, and you buy an extra 99 cents, whatever. And that's no big deal because it's 99 cents. Until you find at the end of the month, Apple charged you $248.99 because you're 99 centsing here and there. Or how about that magazine subscription you ordered 10 years ago and you don't read ever, and yet it's still on auto charge on your debit card. All these things are small expenses, but unless you're looking at your profit and loss, you don't realize how many small expenses you had that you really don't need.
Kirk, this is such an absolutely dagger to my heart, because this is exactly what happened to me about Apple. Like, you and I have never even talked about this, but I literally had missed, and I do review my finances. But your point is always that we have to make sure that our financials, that our profit and loss and our balance sheet can help us make decisions. You know, it's one of those things. No one listening is going to disagree with that statement. It makes total sense. But the thing is, I've made tons of mistakes, of course, through the years, but I really feel like I've got my financials down. I realized that last year, this is so embarrassing to say, I spent like $1,500 on Apple games. I did. I was like, what? I did not. It was 99 cents here and it was $2.99 there, but over the whole year. And I had totally ignored that. When I saw an Apple payment, I just assumed it was for something else. I didn't even know. So, I mean, there for sure are cases of that. You know, the other thing that we have to get into is what the importance is of having accurate financials. Because what I know too, a mistake that I made, is that in the olden days when my financials weren't accurate, I didn't trust all the numbers in there. And so I wouldn't even have trusted that information was correct, and I would have missed it for even longer, right?
I mean, if you don't trust it, then you're not going to use it. And if you're not using it, you're out that information. It's like going out on a ride and shutting off your GPS because you don't believe it knows where you are. Good luck. I mean, you probably get back home, but certainly it would be hit or miss as to how long it takes you. Same thing with your financials. If they're no good and you don't trust them, you're going to stop using them. And so you're just kind of wandering out in the business jungle.
Exactly. And that's the whole reason why we brought you on board, was because we knew, like, we were seeing so many store owners who didn't trust their numbers. And we were having a hard time helping them be successful because we didn't know what the truth was of their expenses and everything. And they hadn't either. And really good, smart people who had just ignored it. Or also the other super common mistake we see is that they try to do the bookkeeping themselves, which is one of your favorite topics, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's two problems with that. Back in the day, to go back to my EMS background, when the idea of a trauma center first came out, we were all used to, you pick up the patient, go to the local hospital. And this idea was, don't go to the local hospital, go to the nearest trauma center for certain types of things. And the question they asked, if you have a serious heart problem, would you like your regular GP to do the surgery? Or would you like somebody who only does cardiac surgery to do the surgery? So the same thing with your books. Are you going to do it yourself because you have an idea of how to use QuickBooks, and QuickBooks is made to be easy? Or do you want somebody who knows how things should be coded, who knows that sales tax is not an expense, who knows that certain, gift cards are not income? So those kind of things, not only do you want a bookkeeper to do it, who knows the programs and knows how things should be coded, you want a retail bookkeeper to do it for things like that. And I spoke with a bookkeeper who was taking on a new retail client, and they're like, oh, well, I'll figure it out. And is that really what you want for your business? Somebody who's going to figure out?
Right. So many mistakes have happened. I had a client that they used a family friend as a bookkeeper, which, sure, there's no one else you could trust, but they didn't know retail. And they just made a huge, very costly mistake that was horrific. And you just don't want a mistake like that in your books, which is literally the heartbeat of your business. If your books don't work, if your numbers don't work, if your financials don't work, you don't have a business. You don't have a business. You can't help all those customers. You can't do what you want to do.
That brings up the other point. There were two reasons you don't want to do your own bookkeeping. Is if you're in the back doing QuickBooks, trying to figure it out, pulling your hair out, figuring out how to do this program, you're not out there helping your customers find the exact right item that they need. You're not out teaching your team how to provide care for your customers when you're not around.
Correct.
And you're not sitting there thinking about the next big strategic move you're going to do to get you over that $1 million mark. You're instead sitting in the back in front of your computer trying to figure out a program that you have no knowledge about and no real good experience with.
And it's just too easy to make small mistakes, and it keeps you from doing the work that God put you on the planet to do, which is to be able to work on your business so that you can have a bigger impact on more people. I mean, there for sure is the occasional retailer who is meant to be in the back room beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so that's you. God bless you. And that's wonderful. But the vast majority of people, there is so much in the business that only you can do. And this is not that. And the other thing, Kirk, I want to explain to people is that people say, oh, well, yeah, but I can't afford a bookkeeper for whatever it is, or I'm trying to save money. All fabulous things. However, you just need to remember that costs sometimes aren't costs, they're investments. And when you invest in getting your numbers done right, it gives you the firm foundation to be able to build this empire, even if you're not dreaming of an empire, but it allows you to build this store on a firm foundation that can create legacy for you, right? That's the point. And the other thing about it, so what I tell you to do from a very practical standpoint is hire that bookkeeper and look at how much you're paying that bookkeeper an hour. What I want you to do is look at how much you're paying that bookkeeper for an hour, multiply it times 4, and then spend 1 hour doing something that you know will generate 4 times that amount of money in cash. Is it creating an event that only you can do? Is it putting together, doing a Facebook Live that only you can do? Right? Do you see what I'm saying, y'all? I want you working on your business because that's how you create what it is, this life of freedom, this life of retail fun and joy that you deserve. Gosh darn it. Yes, I think that's why this topic is so not dry as dust. It's not.
It's funny, one of our newest bookkeeping clients said to me, she finally joined. She was a profit first client first. And then I kept saying, let us do your books because it's driving you nuts. And so when she finally came over, she said, I got to tell you, every time I sat here not working on an event, because she loves doing events and she's very successful with them. Mm-hmm. Every time I sat here not working on an event, I kept hearing your voice in the back of my head. Let us do your bookkeeping. And then finally, she stopped wasting her time and started doing what she needed to be doing, which was growing her business.
Right. You're going to see so much more growth by taking that money, investing it in a bookkeeper, and turning over here and then working on what you can do, those events, whatever it is you can do. That's how you're going to grow your business. The money you're saving by working on your own books isn't serving you. It's not serving you.
No, you may be saving.
You have to be intentional about it, but you have to be intentional about sitting down and creating that time, creating that cash for yourself.
You may be saving a little cash, but you're not saving any time. And how much money is your time worth?
Exactly. Well said.
Not only that, how much is it going to cost you when you find out that your sales are overstated in your QuickBooks because you were recording transfers as sales, and so basically you're double estimating your sales, and you didn't catch it because you don't know.
Right.
And I tell you, that is a common problem.
Right.
And that's true. Thousands of dollars. That one mistake right there would pay for a bookkeeper for a year.
Listen, thank you so much for being here, Kirk. Thank you so much for being part of our team. You bring such a calm and steadying voice to all of our clients. It's what they always say. And I'm so grateful that you're part of our team because you're really having such a big impact on them. And y'all, that's why we're here, is to help you become a richer retailer. We have worked hard and tirelessly to continue to bring you practical tips and tactics and strategies that here on the podcast that we also do with our clients. We'd love to have you be a client of ours so that you can hit that milli mark, whatever it is for you, so that you can hit it faster. Don't hesitate to click on the links that are in the show notes or reach out to us at RETAILMavens.com. Come join our Facebook group, Retail Mavens FB for Facebook.com. It's where we talk about all of this stuff more and more. You can see Kirk's monthly column, Captain Kirk, we call him. What's the name of your...
QuickBooks Corner. Yep, Captain Kirk's QuickBooks Corner.
Captain Kirk's QuickBooks Corner. So thank you so much for being here, guys. It's been an honor to serve you in any way. And if you have any other questions, don't hesitate. Go to the Facebook page and leave your questions there. And please share this with your absolute favorite store owner, best friend, because no store owner should let another store owner do their own books. Thank you so much for being here, Kirk.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Can't wait to see you again soon. Know that you are astonishingly fabulous, that you are loved. Bye-bye. Happy retailing, everyone.